over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices like Eriantys. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. You're about to see my Allegro 1-minute overview and final thoughts. This is designed to see if this game warrants more of your time. If it does, just keep watching because then you'll see my full intro overview and final thoughts. However, if you don't want to be spoiled anything and you want to skip right to the full review, use the time index below in YouTube. Eriantys is an area control game optimized for 2 players where you're going to be placing these token students on your board. When you have the most, you'll gain control of that. With those control, you'll be trying to take over these different islands by placing your towers on them. So based on cards people play, they're going to be placing influence tokens, moving Mother Nature, and if you have the most influence there by what you control, you'll be able to place your towers there. The first one to get rid of your towers wins. And if you're able to also control the adjacent section, those islands come together and now you own this big island, and each of your towers also counts as influence for future battles. There's also forward planning because you can see what color discs are available for you and other players to take at the end of this round. And there's an advanced variant with different characters each game, which would possibly give you more influence in a certain round, or making people's towers not count as influence, or even swapping pieces in and out of your board, changing the control. And so in this game, it's taking actions to gain majorities, which give you a majority, and you're trying to win with those majorities to make bigger islands on the board and get rid of your towers to win. This is a unique twist on area control where you're working with majorities in the dining room to try to win majorities out on the clouds. Huge amounts of depth, but not a lot of complexity. You're looking multiple moves ahead. You're trying to combine islands for even more influence than trying to take over someone else's big island. The advanced cards make every game different. This is a 2-player area control that works well, and that's really hard to do. It's about a 30-minute game, but feels like you're playing a full-length game. You're looking at your card play versus turn order versus how far Mother Nature can move, and unlimited replayability. This game's amazing. The cards are very thin. The name is a little weird. It's hard to find, it's hard to search. Mystical Islands or Magical Islands would have been better, and they could have really made this a Harry Potter IP, having the students at the table, and it would have sold a lot more copies, I'm sure. But overall, this won a Saxophone Serenade, my highest honor, because it's an amazing 2-player area control game, and it's still really good with 3 as well. Not so much with 4. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today it's all about the islands. We're going to be trying to go out there, moving Mother Nature around, trying to gain control of these islands, and bringing them together to control the world. Today, we're talking about Eriantys. This is a area control game mainly for 2 players, but plays 2 to 4. Let me show you how it works. I'll see you on the other side. In Eriantys, it's an area control game where you're going to be moving students from your own board to the corresponding colored table, trying to gain control and getting the professor for that example table. Like this one here, if you have the most students at this table, more than any other player has on their board, you'll get the professor. And over the course of the game, you're trying to be the first to place out all of these towers. At the beginning of the game, there's 12 cloud tiles, and again, at the end of the game, you're trying to be the one to place your last tower out. You're going to be placing these for specific reasons and joining islands together. Now, at the beginning of the game, each player gets their own deck of cards, and all the cards are the same regardless of which player you are, except how the cards look. Now, on your turn, you're going to play a card face up, and then other players are going to play cards face up as well. You'll look at this number, and the lowest number gets to go first. On your turn, you have 3 movements of these students. Moving a student could be as easy as taking it from here and putting it here. That's one movement. I could do this again and go like something like that. I could also maybe say move this one to here. Let's say I did those 2 movements. If at any point in time you have more students, like in this case, in your blue table than any other player, because each player has their own board, you would get the professor token of that color. That means that you essentially are sort of controlling blue. And at the beginning of the game, let's say I put this here. Now I'll actually control both of these, but there's only one of each, so it's going to be pretty easy for other players to then take these back from us by placing just more than what we did here. Now we have a third movement. Let's say we take this one, and you could place this on any island. Let's say we place it here. Why would we do that? Because if you remember, this is the card we played. 3 allows us to go first because we had played the lowest number. This tells us how much we can move Mother Nature up to. Up to 2, we got to move her at least 1. So we could go 1, or we could go up to 2. Now we place Mother Nature there. We'll look there. Right now there's just 2 blues. And if you remember, we have control of blue. We have the professor because we have the most blues on our table. So we control blue, And there's 2 blues here, which means we have 2 influence. Nobody else has any because we're winning in influence. We get to place our castle there. That's important. Remember, whoever runs out of their castles first wins. Now let's say there was a red there and somebody else controlled red. Well, 2 blue versus 1 red. We would still have control, so we'd still be able to place our tower there. But let's say that there were 2 red there and someone else controlled red and we control blue. Nobody controls that because it's tied, so we wouldn't be able to put a tower there. So you're trying to look ahead and see where you can move this next turn, and it's going to help you decide what you're going to influence on your board to try to take control of that color and things like that. Now, in the future, let's say Mother Nature came here again, like it went around in a circle and it's here next time it comes around, and we see blues here, but we see a tower. This one counts as 1 point of influence for this player who has the black towers, and whoever controls blue. Since we still control blue, we have 1, 2, and 3 influence. But if somebody else took control of blue over us, they would have 1, 2, and we would have 1. So the more towers you get out there, the more influence it helps you with. Even more so, let's just say it was our turn again. It would normally be the next player's turn, but let's say we ended up moving this over here. And let's say we were the ones that controlled pink. So we would be able to put this here. And this is where it gets really cool, is that if you have adjacent ones that have your towers, these float together and get connected. Now if we look at this island, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 influence because we have both blue and pink influence on our boards, let's say. But let's say in a future round, when this kind of came around again, somebody else took control of blue from us. They would have 1, 2, but let's say we still controlled pink. We'd have 1, 2, 3. We would still do it. So as the islands get bigger and you're able to put them together, it gets harder for someone to take control from you. Now, after you've played your card and you've moved 3 students and you've moved Mother Nature, it's the next player's turn. But before that, you get to pick one of these cloud tiles and you get to take them and put them on your board. Now, this has a lot of forward planning because as you're planning what to move onto your board and where to move Mother Nature, you're seeing which ones are available for you to sort of set yourself up for a future turn. And by the way, these come out of a very nice sort of velvet stitched bag there. So let's say, you know what? Let's just take these ones. I would empty these out. And I would place them to fill them up here. Now, when other players take actions, they're going to be like, well, let me take control of pink. Well, they might not because they'll see, you know what, on my next turn, I could just put a bunch of pink out here and possibly take it back. So you're constantly looking at what other players have, what can they do next turn, what things are out there. Even though it's a simple game, there's a ton to think about. So as the game goes on, players are going to be taking controls of different islands. And again, you're trying to be the first one to run out of the towers. And if you've placed all your out there, you've won. There's also some other ways the game can end, but that's the main way it happens. Now, interesting note is if I was able to control more of these, let's say I took control of blue and green of professors on my board. Let's say I placed this here and I moved Mother Nature here. So let's say I controlled green and blue. So I have 1, 2, 3 influence. White only has 2 because it have the 2 towers. These go back to that player. I replace them with my towers, and then because it's adjacent, I have this humongous set of 4. So now, by default, even if I lost control of all the colors, I'd still have 4 influence by default. So you can make some really big moves in this game. Now, there's also an advanced game, and I highly recommend you play with this even from the first game that you play. Now, players are going to be able to get coins throughout the game, and you can spend coins, 1, 2, or 3, for example, to activate these characters, and there's plenty of these cards. They're different every game. And for example, if I spend 1 here, I can exchange students from my table with 1 from my supply, changing how things are. Obviously, it would end up changing control probably. Now, how do you get these coins? You'll notice that in each of these columns here, there's a coin. If you place it on a coin like this, then you just take 1 from the supply. Now, since someone's already paid for this, it's always going to be 1 more. So anytime someone takes this for the rest of the game, it's going to be 1 plus 1, which is 2. Here it costs 2 to go there, here it costs 3 to go here. This gives you 2 more influence that round, that turn. This one you spend 3, and towers don't count as any influence for that round. So it's really cool because it gives you different strategies throughout the game every time that you play because these cards are different each game. Now, when you play with 3 players, it's just slightly scaled where players only have to place less towers. There's different amounts of cloud tiles to take things out and things like that. But in a 4-player game, it's a team versus team game. All right, but there's Eriantys. I think this is a unique twist on area control for a few reasons. Number 1, area control with 2 players, generally speaking, is hard to do, isn't done well often, and so it's a tough challenge. And I think this does it perfectly. It's so good, and it's another reason why I think it's a unique twist is like you're fighting for majorities in the dining room with the students to get the professors so that you can have control of different colors. But then you're also using those majorities to gain majorities again on the cloud. So it's like a battle of majorities that helps you win battle of majorities. And it's a cool concept. I really like the way that works. This game has a huge amount of depth, but simple mechanisms. I mean, literally on your turn, take 3 of these students and move them, either to your board or out to the clouds. That's pretty much it. But there's so much depth as to what am I doing? Which ones am I moving now? What do the other players have on their board? Which ones are out there in the clouds that I'm gonna be able to take at the end of the round? Which card am I gonna play? Do I wanna go first, second, third? Where do I wanna go? How far do I wanna move them? If I go second, how far does that mean they might move them? There is a ton of depth here and a ton of decision space to how simple this is. And I often talk about my depth to complexity ratio. This is off the charts. Huge amount of depth, not a lot of complexity. That's my sweet spot. This does it great. You're constantly looking multiple moves ahead and going, okay, if we take this, I'll do this. I might add some of these way over here on the other side, then because then the next couple rounds, I can get that, which will bring these 2 islands together. Constantly forward planning as well. And then when you combine the islands, you have even more influence, which is awesome. You're trying to get the islands together that are next to each other, giving you more influence, making it harder, but you're also trying to get enough influence to possibly knock down a big one like I showed at the end of that overview. If you have a couple of islands next to each other and someone else has a bunch and you're able to take that over and you have a humongous one, oh man, that play will probably win you the game. You gotta be able to set yourself up for it. But as you're setting yourself up to get majorities for that, someone else is gonna be doing this, possibly taking other majorities away from you and maybe taking your islands away. So you might have taken theirs away or working on it, but they might take yours beforehand. So it's a really interesting balance there. The advanced cards, absolutely play this right away with the game. It makes the game so much better, so much deeper. All the cards are sort of different. Each game you're gonna have different cards, gives you different strategies, different things to think about, makes the game feel very puzzly. I love that. So this is 2-player area control that works well. Recently I did a review on a very small 10 to 15 minute game called Great Plains, which did area control in an amazing way. This one is like twice that length. It's like 20 to 30 minutes. It feels like you've played like a full-length game, but at the same time, it's pretty quick. You'll probably play this twice in a row, easily within an hour, even with setting up and teaching the rules. But it really packs a full punch. I love the card play versus the turn order and the Mother Nature movement. This game, kind of because it's a puzzly game, and those advanced cards really has like unlimited replayability. On the negative side, the playing cards are pretty thin and flimsy. The name itself, Eriantys, it's hard to search, it's hard to say. Good luck trying to figure it out on Board Game Geek, where if you get one letter wrong, it doesn't show up. They kind of called it like Mystical Islands or Magical Islands or something just easier to remember that still also played with the theme. I also think they missed a great opportunity for a Harry Potter IP here, because you've got these wizard students, maybe in this mystical area, and they're at the tables in the dining hall. Like, you're literally doing what half of the Harry Potter movies are. I think they missed an opportunity here. With all that being said, those are minor quibbles. This is a fantastic game. If you're looking for a 2-player control, by the way, 3 players works fine. If you came to me and there were 3 of us like, hey, let's play Eriantys, cool, I'll play it. I love this game. It's still best with 2, which is crazy for an area control game. It's great. It's still a good game with 3. 4 with the teams, there's so many better games at 4. I wouldn't play this with 4. 2, it's fantastic. 3, it's still also very good. And for those reasons, this is going to be getting my highest honor, which is a Saxophone Serenade, which means I'm keeping it in my gaming library, which means I have to get rid of something with a pretty big box, because this box is a normal like Ticket to Ride size box. So without further ado, let's hit it. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below.